Morgan, we'll start. Call meeting to order, please. Roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Here.
Densberger? Jeffers?
Here.
Call?
Here.
Mayor Mingus?
Here.
All present, Commissioner
Thank you.
Densberger.
Please stand the
on.
invocation. Remain standing for the pledge.
Shall I pray? Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. We thank you for this season, this new month. We thank you for the holiday season, our Festival of Lights, for the overall good holiday cheer we see already. But we also want to be mindful of our neighbors in the area and the region with the catastrophic tornado damage around, especially Taylorville. And those of us in this area, Washington, and even areas of East Peoria and Peoria, and Pekin per se, we know what that's like, and yet they're experiencing it now. So may our empathy help them as we are able to assist them as able. Pray for them. Thank you for the relief that they're getting now, and just pray that they will be able to recover as soon as possible in difficult times. So may we be mindful of them even in our good times here. We ask your blessing on our meeting tonight as we deliberate and discuss your business and as we celebrate a bit as well. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approve the minutes, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the minutes of the regular meeting held on November 20th, 2018, and the minutes of the special meeting for a working session held on November 20th, 2018 be approved as printed.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Decker. Discussion, roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Special communications, we're very fortunate. Teresa Mustang, come on forward here and introduce the Queen Court, please.
All right. This year's Festival of Lights Queen Pageant was a huge success. This is the third year in a row that we've been sold out. And I have the pleasure of meeting the most wonderful young ladies in our community through this event. Doug, thank you for all your support. You got to see a little bit about it this year, came down, and but I enjoy doing it, and I'll continue to do so as long
How many
as
years now, Teresa?
13.
13. Gee.
Yes, yes. The Paradise is wonderful. The staff there is wonderful as far as giving us a discount on the meal and giving us the ballroom for free. I have a wonderful committee that I work with, Gretchen Wirtz, Ashley Ashman, Tiffany Dennison. I couldn't do it without them. We all have our own special areas, and we all just go and do our thing, and it all comes together at the end. So this year, I would like to introduce our second runner-up. Chloe Rogers is a sophomore at East Peoria Community High School. Chloe will be the recipient of a $250 college scholarship.
Hello. I just want to thank everybody so much for the opportunity and all of the great community support. This pageant is truly such an amazing experience, and I'm so glad that I was able to be a part of it and be able to be a role model for the young men and women of East Peoria. I just want to thank everybody so much for their support again, and thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes.
And our first runner-up is Rebecca Ransom. And just so you know, Rebecca was our second runner-up last year, and she came back this year to do it again. So she'll get $250 for second runner-up and $500 for first runner-up. So $750 in college scholarship. Becca?
Hello, everyone. I wanted to say also thank you so much for this opportunity. I feel like this pageant gives us such a great platform to speak to the young people in our community and to do great things for our community and to give us a voice to speak up for the things we think are great about our community and to help others. And I'm so grateful that I've gotten to be a part of this pageant for the last 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations.
And this year's Festival of Lights Queen is Abby Eggmeyer. She is a junior at East Peoria Community High School, and she will receive a $1,000 college scholarship. Abby?
All right. Along with all these other women, thank you so much for having us here and having us here today. I'm so grateful to have this platform, which enables me to do so much good around our community. I've already seeked out doing the good more than I usually would. Me and Teresa last week on Tuesday, we donated 50 blankets to the children's home, and that was super fun. But this pageant and like winning it and being queen has really pushed me to do more in the community and throughout everything. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Did a good job lighting the wreath.
Aren't they amazing young ladies? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all you do. Very good. Next, we have a proclamation, very important proclamation. Whereas on a serene Sunday morning 77 years ago, the skies above Pearl Harbor were darkened by the bombs of Japanese forces in a surprise attack that tested the resilience of our armed forces and the will of our nation. And whereas on National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day, we honor the more than 3,500 Americans killed or wounded during that deadly attack and pay tribute to the heroes whose courage ensured our nation would recover from this vicious blow. Their tenacity helped define the greatest generation, and their valor fortified all who served during World War II. As a nation, we look to the December 7th, 1941, to draw strength from the example set by these patriots and to honor all who have sacrificed for our freedoms. And whereas the Congress, by public law, as amended, has designated December 7th of each year as National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. Now therefore, I, David W. Mingus, Mayor of the City of East Peoria, do hereby proclaim December 7th, 2018 as National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day in the City of East Peoria, and encourage all Americans to observe the solemn day of remembrance and to honor our military past and present with appropriate ceremonies and activities. I urge all government agencies and interested organizations, groups, and individuals to fly the flag of the United States at half-staff this September 7th in honor of those American patriots who died as a result of their service at Pearl Harbor. Something we should never forget and pay tribute to those who went before us. I think particularly now this is even more important and more prevalent because of George Bush, who passed, of course, and lays in state currently, but Pearl Harbor came up many times in the past couple of days in the news, prompting his service, and let us never forget.
Greatest generation of our lifetime.
Amen. All right, anybody in the audience want to speak to the council on an agenda item, come forward. Bob, good to see you.
I spoke at the last meeting about the hotels and motels that are going to be affected by the one of the different ordinances we're going to vote on again. I wanted to say thank you to Charlie, who did some investigative work on this and found that there were still 2 motels in East Peoria that, as we spoke before, house people that have whole families in a room or are very low income and have nowhere else to live. He mentioned the Whiteside Motel and the Beacon Motel. And so I don't know, like I said last time, if there's something that we can do for these 2 locations or the people there so that they're not burdened by an extra even couple of dollars taxes. I think it would be a good thing. Thank you.
What?
The Whiteside. And again, Charlie did all the legwork on it, so.
Thank you. Thanks, Charlie. Anybody else? Seeing no one come forward, Commissioner Decker, consent agenda, no objections.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a consent agenda consisting of items number 1 through 4 as listed on the agenda for this meeting to be considered by omnibus vote.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call, discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you.
So then, Mr. Mayor, I move you that the items numbered 1 through 6 listed on the consent agenda be hereby approved and adopted. The items numbered 2 through 6, having been read once by their title, having laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection, be adopted as presented.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call, discussion, roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Commissioner Densberger won't be here tonight, so we're gonna play it by ear on his items, so.
I believe If you want, Commissioner, I'll just go with what I have, and then Commissioner Call has a couple of Commissioner Densberger's items as well. We'll start with ordinance number 4421. Mr. Mayor, I move you that ordinance number 4421 here to attached annual tax levy ordinance for the city of East Peoria, Illinois, for the fiscal year from the first day of May, AD 2018, to the last day of April, AD 2019, be accepted on its first reading as read by its title, be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call.
Thank you, Commissioner Call. Some of you will remember last week, or last council meeting, we had a working session prior to, talked about the 3 different options that were put forward. I can't remember the specifics of all 3, but it was expressed that night, at least the interest of a couple were to stick with the tax levy that basically made the dollars flat. So the intention is, if whatever you paid last year in property taxes, the city's intention would be that you pay that again this year. I took quite a bit of time over the last couple weeks looking at that, because when I first hear about that, you hear about, well, inflation and everything else. How does it affect our revenues and expenses? I'll tell you, I met with Jeff Becker today, and for about an hour and a half, Jeff, I think. And every time I do, it's an education, and he has this information like at the front of his brain, and anything he stumbles on for a second, he can pull up on his computer. And in the time meeting with him, I was very encouraged by a lot of the numbers that we're seeing, whether they be sales tax numbers, the different things that the city will, sorry, my notes are over here. I'll just look forward. The different amounts of money that the city will be receiving. I'm not going to say the city doesn't have financial concerns. We do. We need to be conservative. We need to be tight. However, it is encouraging if you look at what our sales taxes have done. The numbers that we are receiving are slightly higher than was projected. So with that, and knowing that we did enact a sales tax this year, it's never my intention to tighten a noose, make it more difficult on our city to move forward. But I do think this year the tax that is in front of us is the appropriate one to do. It's always good when you can tell the taxpayers that we can keep taxes flat. If you look in the city of East Peoria, and this started well before my time, but if you look in the city of East Peoria, the corporate tax rate for the city has done very well. If you compare us to right now on the tax assessor site, it goes back to the year 2001. In many cases, the amount of money you're paying to the city is actually equal to, in some cases I found, a couple of people I looked up, it was even slightly less. And for 17 years forward, some people are actually paying slightly less to the city, not in total. I was pretty impressed with that, though. And the reason is because of our active development. Our sales tax has really taken off in the city over the last, well, it started even before then, but especially over the last 17 years or so. So I will gladly support this tonight. I'm happy to get it moving forward.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other comments, please?
Yes, I spoke a couple weeks ago. I think the tax levy and what we decide makes up about 15% or less of our total budget. And it needs to be actually the decision we make here for the tax levy amount needs to be taken in part with our spring budget process, whether we're looking forward to the spring process or forward to 2019 and beyond. But we all know what our capital expenditures built up are, and as much as we appreciate lower tax rates and lower amounts, we also have the need to maintain services. At least that's our goal, to maintain services. So that's the balancing act we have. I mentioned this to Mayor Mingus a few days ago. One thing that gives me encouragement, and actually Commissioner Decker already hit upon it, was the fact that we have our budget projections, and our treasurer and what we think is going to happen, we wait and see. We've had a downtick on gaming for several years now. We're about half what we were in gaming several years ago, and we know that, and that's no surprise. But we have a projected sales tax, and it's up probably more than what we anticipate. If we would have increased the levy, the different options we had, we could have increased it and there are needs, we could spend it very easily, and you wouldn't even know it as far as where it would go, because we have such a pin-up need here. But saying that, in lieu of the fact that we have probably at least a $200,000 at this point, I haven't confirmed this with Jeff Becker, but I believe it's pretty close, around $200,000 or so increase in projected sales tax revenue that would offset any, by holding flat our tax levy. I think it balances out. I've always been a proponent of sales tax in lieu of property tax. It's a healthy thing in lieu of those that are on fixed income. 20% plus of our city is on homestead exemption. That's a good thing. Mm-hmm. About 25% have the reduced water rates. That's a good thing we do as a city of East Peoria. This year, I think we need to be looking ahead in the future, but for this year, this time, I will support the recommended tax rate schedule that's been proposed.
Thank you, Commissioner Call.
Yeah, I'm encouraged by the fact that we're at this point, and it appears everybody's on the same page, which is a good thing. I suspect that's why the crowd's relatively low today. But I'm going to still do my due diligence by stating I can't stress enough that for those people out there that complain about the high property taxes in East Peoria, and they are high, trust me, we all pay them, the city's portion of it is one of 10 taxing bodies on your property tax bill. So as we do this, Commissioner Decker did a fabulous job of laying out for the last 17 years, the city's portion of your property taxes has basically stayed flat, stayed the same. With that being said, I encourage you to take a hard look at your property taxes and pay attention to the taxing bodies as they go forward with their tax levies. We have 2 school districts that comprise of 59% of your taxes. They both have meetings this month. Pay attention and watch and see what increases are implemented by these other taxing bodies, and use your voice if you don't agree with it. But I'm proud of the city. I'm proud of what the city's done for the last 17 years, and this year is no exception. So,
I think the city realizes there's hard times out there, and people, they not always have what they need. And we want people to at least afford a pizza once in a while, and there's folks out there that can't do that because they have enough money. Every little bit helps, so I think we really put forth an effort to make sure that we do the best we can. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
All right, next, Mayor, resolution number 1819-097. Whereas Raymond Kyle, the subdivider, has, through Kinney Land Surveying Company, submitted a preliminary plat, which is called the preliminary plat, for a subdivision identified as Kyle Heritage Estates, the subdivision, in the form attached hereto labeled Exhibit A. And whereas following a hearing conducted pursuant to a duly published notice, the East Peoria Planning Commission recommended approval for the preliminary plat, subject to certain conditions hereinafter set forth. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Tazewell County, Illinois, that the preliminary plat of the subdivision is submitted by the subdivider is hereby approved. The subdivider is hereby, Section 2. The subdivider is hereby authorized to submit a final plat of the subdivision upon resolving annexation issues and concerns raised by the city during the review process for the preliminary plat. The final plat shall be submitted in accordance with the terms of this resolution and all applicable regulations found in the East Peoria Subdivision Code, and shall be subject to approval in the manner provided by said subdivision code. Mr. Mayor, I move you that resolution number 1819-097 be adopted as presented.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call.
Thank you, Commissioner Call. I read over this and I understood it, and then when I realized Commissioner Densberger wasn't going to be here, I called Ty and he answered a couple other minor questions that I had. This is located on Route 24, right at Grange Road, I guess on the northwest corner of that subdivision, or of that intersection. It is going to be 3 lots. And there are some questions here about the potential for a final approval of the lot. And those, according to this resolution still need to be worked out before a final plot is submitted. Ty, I'll let you fill in anything you feel necessary.
Thank you, Commissioner. So the location is that northwest quadrant of this intersection, and the property extends, it's a little unusual, and the property extends across Hollands Grove Road, which is actually to the north of Route 24, parallels it. So it's a little bit of an unusual situation, but this is currently outside of the city, but this property in total is adjacent to the city limits, which are just across US 24. It's from a planning perspective, a very strategic location from the standpoint of it's a matter of when this quadrant develops, not if. It's an signalized intersection of a U.S. route. So it's important, I think, that we take a close look at this. The beauty of this process is this is really just step one. The final plat is a second step, and that's where the Planning Commission has asked for this issue to be addressed and resolved. And we'll work with the petitioner and see if we can come to a resolution whereby we can hopefully annex that corner. The 3-lot subdivision, I'm not sure we're as concerned about, but certainly that corner is a very strategic value and something we need to take a look at in the long term.
Thank you. Other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
Next and last, Mayor, resolution number 1819-095. Be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Illinois, the resolution number 1819-095 hereto attached. Resolution approving engineering services contract with Midwest Engineering Associates for intersection design study for Washington and Main Street intersection regarding proposed Washington Street restriping project be approved. And that this resolution number 1819-095 be accepted on its first reading, as read by its title, be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call.
Thank you, Commissioner Call. This is, I guess, a perfect time to look at doing this. Many of you know we had windmills that were brought into the rail yard last year, and then from there transported to a place throughout Illinois. With that, they had to make an agreement with the city and with the state to transport those by road forward. And in doing so, we recognize that the enormous weight that would be on city streets. So that section there is going to be redone, and not at the expense of the city. That I'm not sure, I can't remember which one it is, if it's the rail yard or the trucking company, but not at the expense of the city. That's going to be done. So this is the perfect time to talk about restriping. There has been some concerns over the last few years about the striping out in front of Costco. Also, as we look all the way down to striping from, I guess, the Costco area to I-74. So in looking at what some would like us to do, that's where this engineering study comes in. An engineering study is mandated. We can't just do what we want. So it is mandated, the need for it. I confirmed with Ty today that this does not authorize a certain plan to say, hey, we want it this way, but this does have the Midwest engineer look at what needs to be done. Either one of you, Dennis, Ty, any further?
I think just to clarify that this is a requirement of IDOT, so because we're interfacing at that intersection with Main Street in Washington and potentially changing the configuration, we've got to go through this first and confirm that this is even feasible. I think at that point we'll have our answer on whether or not we can proceed with looking at restriping or if it's just off the table. But this is a necessary step, and it's really driven by that intersection component is what they're asking for.
Thank you. Other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
I have no more resolutions, Mayor. However, if I do leave in the next couple minutes, my son has a band concert tonight. It's nothing personal, but I told him I'd make it there.
So understood. Commissioner Jeffers?
Nothing, Mr. Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Call?
I have two items. One, which was Commissioner Densberger's, that's ordinance number 4422. Mr. Mayor, I move you that ordinance number 4422, hereto attached an ordinance adding a theft policy to and updating the sexual harassment policy in the City of East Peoria Personnel Policy Manual, be accepted on its first reading as read by its title, and be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Jeffers.
Thank you, Commissioner Jeffers. So the city staff had reviewed a couple of these policies, and I wasn't prepared to speak in particular about them, but just I'll make a couple quick notes. The first, there's two parts to what we're updating here. The first, implementing a theft policy in the workplace, also as it relates to administrative procedures for investigating and imposing disciplinary measures should theft occur. And then secondly, back in January of this year, we implemented an anti-harassment policy, a very comprehensive one, which basically we had made sure the city was in compliance with the state law. Since then, the state has now extended the complaint filing period under Illinois Human Rights Act from 180 to 300 days. So in order to track this extended complaint filing period, we're updating the policy.
Well said. Other discussion?
Mayor, since I am a city employee and I always am consistent not voting on anything that would affect me personally, so I'm going to abstain on this.
I think just a comment or two on the theft policy. I think we can safely say that it's a clear picture of what's expected from staff and consequences if they don't abide by it. That means that there are no such things as spoils anymore that might be taken from different areas. Probably we'll do is dispose of materials like we used to years ago, and that would be through auctions or through giving to non-for-profits. Secondly, staff cannot just go down, or anybody else, and just take a table out of the festival building. All property is to be channeled in and out through Doug. We miss a lot of tables, and I don't think a lot of it is because of intentional theft, but people use them and don't bring them back, and this puts a stop to that as well. So we're really tightening things up. Everybody has warning, and should they not abide by those warnings, there'll be strict consequence.
Just a comment, if I would, please. I see this resolution as maybe a compilation of other areas within our city code, because this isn't like we didn't have a policy against these type of things right now. The sexual harassment, and that's a bookkeeping thing for the state law, et cetera. I understand that. We have our city manual now that we're updating to include this, but we also have in our contracts and so forth several places that address theft and fraud and everything else, not just theft, but whether it be being dishonest, misrepresenting, and all kinds of things that your private workplace would also have. So this is, to me, is a compilation, puts it in one place in a broad, general fashion, and gives some specific outlines of how we conduct business. But what it does do also, Mayor, in my view, which this stood out to me and as thinking about it, it does place a penalty on false accusations. Mm-hmm. We have to protect our workplace. Those are doing things right and those are doing things wrong. And I'm not afraid of truth. I don't think anyone really is afraid of truth. You just want things done fairly. So that is in here, and I guess I'm pleased to see that. I hope we never have to even go down the path of any of these things. That is where we're at tonight, and I'll support it.
Thank you, sir. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Abstain.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
I have 3 ayes and 1 abstention, Your
Thank you
Honor.
very much. Have a good time now, Danny. Be careful.
One more item, sir. Resolution number 1819-098. Resolution authorizing temporary increase in the number of sergeants on the East Peoria Police Department. Whereas Title I, Chapter 3, Section 7.1 of the East Peoria City Code authorizes the City Council to determine from time to time by resolution the number of individuals to hold each rank on the police department. And whereas one of the sergeants has informed the city of his pending retirement from the East Peoria Police Department effective in May 2019, but beginning December 15, 2018, this sergeant will be on leave until his retirement date. And whereas the command staff of the police department seek the promotion of another permanent sergeant to replace the retiring sergeant, and when the retiring sergeant retires, the number of sergeants would be returned to current staffing level. And whereas the promotion of a sergeant into a permanent position will provide better command consistency and efficiency for the police department during the retiring sergeant's period of leave prior to retirement. And whereas it is in the best interest of the city of East Peoria to temporarily increase the total number of individuals holding the rank of sergeant on the East Peoria Police Department from 7 to 8, effective December 15, 2018. And whereas it is further in the best interest of the city that after the sergeant's retirement in May 2019, the city of East Peoria decreased the total number of individuals holding the rank of sergeant on the East Peoria Police Department from 8 to 7. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Tazewell County, Illinois, that Section 1, effective December 15, 2018, the staffing level for the Police Department of the City of East Peoria shall consist of the following personnel. A, 1 police chief. B, 2 deputy chiefs. C, 8 sergeants. D, 38 patrolmen. Section 2, the police chief is hereby authorized and directed to notify the Police and Fire Commission of the temporary increase in sergeants and to request the Police and Fire Commission to undertake the process of appointing a sergeant to fill the position hereby created. Section 3, effective on the retirement of the sergeant in May 2019, the staffing level for the Police Department of the City of East Peoria shall return to the following personnel. A, 1 police chief. B, 2 deputy chiefs. C, 7 sergeants. And D, 38 patrolmen. Mr. Mayor, I move you that resolution number 1819-098 be adopted as presented.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Jeffers.
Thank you, Commissioner Jeffers. Not sure if I can mention his name, if the chief wants
Is
to.
it okay?
Sergeant Cam has taken a position, I think, as an instructor possibly, or something to that effect, Chief?
It's a public safety position, Assistant Public Safety Director in Lindenwood University down in Belleville.
Okay.
We'll miss him, too.
Yeah, great guy, and appreciate the service he's given us, but this basically allows us to plan accordingly, stay ahead of it versus catching up.
Very good. Other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you.
That's all I had, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Call. Anybody in the audience want to speak to the council on a non-agenda item, come forward.
I heard earlier we mentioned a sales tax increase that was put into effect. I believe that went in on, July for 0.5%? And it was projected to bring in $2.5 million?
Not the first year.
It was a partial year.
So $1.25 million, or?
I think it was 1.5, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was 1.5.
Yeah. So are we on track to meet those numbers, or what's the projection on that?
As of right now, the non-home sales tax is up from the prior year. We've only collected 2 months of that. October and November would have been the collection for July and August. So since it's delayed, we haven't collected enough of it yet to make an assumption.
Okay. So I guess you're pretty good with numbers. Have you got any idea if we're going to be on track?
Like I said, right now the non-home sales tax is up 1 to 2% from last year. So we should be on track, yes.
All right, thanks.
Keep
Thank
shopping
you.
local and it will be.
Thanks,
You're on
Don.
the especially.
Anybody else? Go ahead. Good to have you here tonight.
Hi, my name is Liam Odiwall. I am a 6th grader at the Central Junior High School. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to you all about something that is very special to me. This year I am doing my 2nd blanket drive in a row. 2 winters ago, while driving with my mom, we saw a group of homeless people that were just hanging out, and then I just thought of many questions like why were they living out in the streets? Can I be able to help them? So then that's when the idea popped into my mind. I said, hey, why don't I just do a blanket drive? And my original goal for the first time I did the blanket drive was 50. But when the blanket drive was over, the number of blankets had skyrocketed to 97. Okay.
Take your time.
All those blankets went to the Peoria's Men Rescue Mission. They were very thankful for the blankets, and I hope that a lot of homeless people are happy now. This year, I would love to collect at least 125 blankets, and with the help of this awesome community, we could reach that goal. If anyone from the community would like to donate a new, used, and cleaned blanket, we have several drop-off spots. You can drop off here at the City Hall, Mel's Cafe, Avanti's in East Peoria, BG's Saloon in Bartonville, Castaways in Chillicothe, Tina's Coach House in Peoria, and Mr. and Mrs. Furniture in Morton. Thanks for letting me talk to you guys about this. I will never forget this moment.
You are special, and we really appreciate what you're doing. We have one more council meeting, too, before you have to have your deadline, so I'm pretty sure if...
Oh, you're going to hit your number, buddy.
We're going to make sure we're going to help you out.
You're a remarkable young man, and you know what? You set such a great example for all the kids your age.
Yep, Bob's bringing 3. Go ahead, Bob. What you...
First, I wanted to note that elections for city council is coming up in April, and I expect to see your name on the ballot. You could make some improvements on the board here. Yeah, I agree. Sure. Good to see. Good to see. I wanted to mention some things on the climate news line. I don't know if you've been following it, probably not like you should. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has decided that things are getting worse much faster than they thought they would, than had been previously predicted. They're saying that if drastic changes aren't made to the way we live, we've got about 12 years to get things under control. The next 2 years are extremely important as far as what cuts we're willing to make. And again, this is from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change with the United Nations. The World Bank said that it's going to double the amount of money to $200 billion that it will make available to poorer countries that are the ones that are actually going to feel the effects of climate change the most and have been least responsible for these problems. You might have seen that the Trump administration's climate change report that did come out had nothing but bad things to say about where things were going. Climate-wise, they were talking about changes to the Midwest in agriculture, in pests, in heat and flooding and so forth. And I did want to mention, too, that good things are out there. Australia cut the number of single-use plastic bags by 80% in 3 months. And they did this by having the 2 largest grocery chains buy into this, like a lot of different companies are doing, and they quit giving out plastic bags. So things are possible. Bags are out there. They did have in the country, or in Australia, you could buy a reusable bag for 15 cents. And you know the problems with plastic bags. My other comments here, I was so thrilled with last meeting getting the portrait of Lincoln. Sure, one of the my heroes. And when I taught school, I used to pass on some of Lincoln's work, and, well, it was his hiring, I guess you could say, schedule. In 1816, his family was forced out of their home, and he had to support him. 1818, his mother died. 1831, his business failed. 1832, he ran for the state legislature and lost. He also lost his job, wanted to go to law school but couldn't get in. 1833, borrowed some money from a friend to begin a business, and by the end of the year, he was bankrupt. He spent the next 17 years of his life paying off this debt. 1834, ran for the state legislature, and he won. 1835, he was engaged to be married. His sweetheart died, and his heart was broken. 1836, had a total nervous breakdown, was in bed for 6 months. 1838, sought to become Speaker of the state legislature. He was defeated. 1840, sought to become an elector. He was defeated. 1843, ran for Congress, lost. 1846, ran for Congress again. And this time he won. Went to Washington and did a good job. 1848, ran for re-election to Congress. He lost. Sought the job of land officer in his home state. He was rejected. 1854, ran for the Senate of the United States. He lost. 1856, sought the vice presidential nomination at his party's convention. He got less than 100 votes. 1860, he was elected president. You know, talk about somebody who had a plan and was not going to be deterred. So I was thrilled to get the portrait of Lincoln and have that hanging here in City Hall.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Comments from the council? Mr. Jeffers.
Well, we have one council meeting left before Christmas.
Hard to believe, isn't it, guys?
And so Christmas is 3 weeks from the night. So, Mayor, I know
Wow.
you're late on your shopping. You need to get going.
I am.
But no, I think things are going well, or reasonably well. Winter Wonderland, the weather was a little rough, but we're into that good pattern. It seems at least it's cold enough for some snow later on. So we'll look forward to the season as it unravels. But it's nice. Reflection back about the parade. We've already talked about that, but it was a good time, and wish everyone safety on the weather especially.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And I mentioned this in the invocation.
Oh, sorry.
I would say we need to just continue to pay attention to what's going on in Taylorville and places where we can. I mean, the goal of providing blankets and that for the area people here is wonderful. I get the chance to volunteer for Southside Mission, so I know they're also, I know the Rescue Mission, Men's great aspect. Southside Mission does this as well. There's a lot of opportunities for people to be involved, and this is a wonderful one here. So we can all plug in on that. So
Thank
that's
you,
all.
Commissioner. Commissioner Call.
Just a couple of things worth noting. December 5th, got free car seat checks down at Central House, 201 West Washington from 1 to 4. And I believe this is the last one for a couple months. We typically run those like March through December. So any question, you know, there's no judgment. These guys do a great job. You pull in, make sure your car seats are in there safe so your kids can go to and from safely. So I encourage you to use that free service. December 7th, which is Friday, the East Peoria Chamber of Commerce has its leadership school at the Paradise. And these groups, I think there are 4 or 5, this year's leadership school focused around community pride. So it's going to be kind of exciting to see what they come back with. They'll be given their PowerPoint this Friday morning. Doors open at 7. Costs $15. You get a great breakfast, and you get to watch a great presentation by some outstanding individuals. Wanted to point out, someone brought up prior to the meeting, actually it was Bob, that we are discussing the nomination petitions. Just want to encourage you, I know a lady came up here at the last meeting, Mrs. Tiller,
Yes.
I believe was her name, to ask about possibly running for a seat on the council. So I'm just doing my due diligence. All 5 seats that you see up here are open. Nomination petitions in your packet. The supporting documentation can be picked up at City Hall or through the county clerk, and those are filed between December 10th and the 17th is the deadline, from 8 in the morning until 5 p.m. So if there's any interest, I encourage you to do it. And last but not least, Mr. Christopher Wilson found the Felipe ornament, so quit looking. It's been found. That's all I have, sir.
Good job, Commissioner. Thanks for your help with the leadership school, too. Real quick, shop and stroll was excellent last weekend. They had the carriage rides. Jill, Teresa, and Mary Jill, special thanks to them who had that. It was a good response. A lot of people came down and spent the afternoon looking through all the antiques and spending some money, which is good, shopping local. The other thing, last but not least, is out of transparency, I want to make sure that people know that for the past 2 years, I've suspended my salary as mayor. Due to the fact I don't think we're going to have a city administrator in the near future, I'll be resuming the part-time position again in lieu of a city administrator, and I appreciate everybody filling in as they have, so just transparency's sake. Is there a motion to adjourn, please?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn until Tuesday evening, December 18th, 2018, at 6 p.m.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you. We are adjourned.
Second.